Let me try a weird claim. Most of what people do all day, grinding at work, posting online, arguing in the comments, collecting credentials, chasing status, that can all be tracked back to one primitive craving. It's not love, it's not money, not even happiness. It's the feeling that you matter, that your existence has weight, that if you disappeared, something would actually change. And the scary part, we live in the most connected era ever, and a lot of people feel more replaceable than ever. That's why this topic is not just self-help. It's like a user manual for modern life. So if you've ever felt invisible in a room full of people, then this video is for you. Welcome back to Thinking and Being. If you like what you see today, please be sure to like and subscribe, as this will enable you to see more content from myself and others just like this. And of course, I'm going to be around a while on YouTube, maybe 20, 30, 40, 400 years. They'll fix the aging problem and I'll just live forever. So your help here is really much appreciated. And what's new in the studio? Well, I'm wearing a gray shirt.
Any more information, Rollo?
Billy likes to drink soda. Miss Lippy's car is green.
That's it. I'm wearing gray today. I'm burping too. Every time I talk, I burp a lot. I don't know what's going on. Should I buy some fancy equipment? It's a little echoey still. I know, it's a little, I don't love the echoes, but I don't know, I have to put up some curtains or something. Why this particular topic? We live in a world of cheap attention. The internet gave us unlimited attention, but attention has become cheap. Algorithms can give you views, likes, comments, validation, and you can still feel empty 5 minutes later. Meanwhile, work culture can be even worse. Dashboards, KPIs, performance reviews, great job team, layoffs, constant reorgs. People are treated like interchangeable parts. So the question becomes, what do humans crave that isn't being met by attention? And what happens when that craving isn't met for years and years? Dale Carnegie wrote about this long before social media or AI existed. And somehow his insight is more relevant now, because we've built a world that rewards performance while starving the soul. Dale Carnegie, a 20th century American writer and teacher, in his classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it became one of the most influential guides to human relationships because it distills timeless psychology into practical, real-world habits that still work today. And in chapter 2, he talks about every person has a deep hunger to feel important. And Carnegie doesn't mean ego-stroking, he means something much more dangerous and honest. People want to feel significant, necessary, seen accurately, like they're not just background characters. Here's the twist. Most people think they want compliments, but what they actually want is recognition that feels earned. Not flattery, not manipulation, something that proves you've impacted the world, even in a small way. So, this isn't really about just being nice. This is about becoming a rare person who makes others feel real. From an evolutionary standpoint, importance was survival. Your brain didn't evolve for TikTok. It evolved for a tribe. In a tribe, your importance wasn't a vibe. It was a role. Hunter, cook, builder, healer, protector, storyteller. If people didn't see your role, you just didn't feel sad, you became vulnerable. You got less food, less protection, less status, less mating opportunities. You might literally get pushed out. So your nervous system learned something that still runs in the background of our brains today, that being valued is safety, being ignored is danger, and being rejected is adjacent to death. That's why being dismissed at work or ghosted or ignored in a group chat can feel irrationally painful. It's not irrational. It's ancient firmware reacting to modern inputs. From a psychology standpoint, validation isn't quite the same thing as recognition. Modern life tends to confuse these two. Validation is I see your feelings. Recognition is I see your value. Validation calms emotion. Recognition builds identity. You can get a million validation signals online, likes, comments, heart emojis, but recognition requires something harder. Someone has to notice the specific way you matter. That's why generic praise doesn't stick. You're awesome is like a sugar packet. It dissolves instantly. But you made this easier because you always notice the missing step. That can hit like a brick because it proves someone actually is tracking you. People don't remember compliments. They remember being accurately seen. And here's the part that makes Carnegie feel less like old school self-help and more like human wiring. When someone recognizes you in a specific, sincere way, your brain processes it as social safety. In neuroscience terms, belonging and status aren't vanity, they're regulation. The brain is constantly scanning. Am I accepted? Am I valued? Do I have a role here? When the answer is yes, stress drops and trust rises. When the answer is no, when you feel ignored, dismissed, or replaceable, your body treats it like a threat. That's why a tiny comment like, "I noticed what you did," can calm someone down more than a long motivational speech. Carnegie's distinction between flattery and appreciation maps perfectly onto this. Flattery can feel manipulative, so it doesn't create safety in all cases. But real appreciation is specific and earned, so it lands as truth. And psychologically, that truth becomes part of identity. I'm the kind of person who contributes. That identity shift is why this works in friendships, leadership, parenting, and relationships. And that's why the modern world, full of generic likes, still leaves people starving. If you don't feel important, humans tend to manufacture importance. This is where Dale Carnegie gets a little bit scary. When people don't feel important naturally, they start chasing things like attention, status, outrage, superiority, moral dominance, being the smartest one, being the most correct one. That's why online arguments rarely end with learning. They end with performance. Because in the background, the real goal is not truth. The goal is, don't let me be insignificant. So this craving shapes everything. Politics, culture wars, real wars, workplace drama, even family conflict. Half of human conflict is just people shouting, "See me." And of course, as I always go back to in this channel, social media is not social. It's more like a visibility casino. Instagram, for example, gives you visibility, not belonging. It rewards what looks impressive, not what's meaningful. You can have 10,000 followers and still feel lonely because your brain knows the truth. Followers are not the same thing as relationships. Also, your brain can't scale intimacy infinitely. It can't treat thousands of people as a real tribe, so you end up with a weird psychological mismatch. Lots of signals, little safety, little closeness, and little actual usefulness to others. And that usefulness matters. The old world path to feeling important was simple. Do something useful for the group. Social media often flips this. Look impressive to strangers. That's why it can feel addictive and empty. So being seen is not the same thing as being needed. And LinkedIn. Different flavor, but the same trap. LinkedIn often turns identity into branding. People perform competence. They perform leadership. They perform confidence. And the platform rewards signals of importance. Titles, networks, polished posts, thought leadership. But a lot of modern white-collar work has a deep fear underneath. Am I actually useful? Or am I just a cog in a larger system? So LinkedIn becomes a psychological compensation device, a place to prove you matter because deep down, a lot of people just aren't sure. And then when AI enters the chat, writing your LinkedIn posts, summarizing your work, making everyone around you sound equally smart, the anxiety can get sharper. If a machine can do my output, where does my importance come from? And let's talk about loneliness. It's not only about being alone, it's about being unknown. You can be around people and still feel lonely if no one actually sees your value, your role, or your impact. And you can be lonely while connected online because you're consuming interaction without producing mutual dependence. There's also a modern twist. People increasingly live inside their phones, which means they're not creating real-world roles. In the real world, you become important by doing things that actually help others. Online, you become important just by being visible. So society is slowly shifting from importance through contribution to importance through attention. So that's a spiritual downgrade disguised as technology. And from a systems perspective, let's look at the attention trap. First, people feel replaceable. Then they seek attention as proof that they matter. Platforms reward performative content. The internet fills with noise. Real recognition becomes rare, and then people feel even more replaceable again. That's a reinforcing loop. And they don't stop because you try harder. They stop because you change the structure. The fix is not to get off social media forever. The fix is rebuild sources of importance that don't depend on attention. Carnegie's practical genius starts here. To make people feel important, you don't start with words, you start with attention. Not attention as in eyeballs, but attention as in curiosity. Instead of walking into interactions thinking, how can I get this from you? You walk in thinking, what do they care about? What are they carrying? What are they proud of that nobody sees? Most people are waiting for their turn to speak. So Carnegie's method is basically become a human spotlight. It's not manipulation if it's true. It's just leadership. And here's a formula that works in friendships, relationships, leadership, and parenting. Specific effort, specific impact, specific identity. So I noticed you stayed late to fix that. Effort. It made the whole team's job easier today. Impact. That's what I respect about you. You're reliable when it counts. Identity. It's real. It's rare. Generic praise like you're great is cotton candy, but this is protein. Also, it trains you to see people as contributors, not objects. That changes the whole vibe. People feel important when they're useful in a real ecosystem. You can intentionally build earned importance by doing things like inviting contribution. Can you weigh in on this? Creating roles. You're the person I trust for this. Show reliance. This was better because you were involved. This creates mutual dependence, which is what community actually is. Not vibes, not networking, but dependence with dignity. And yes, it works at work too. The best managers don't motivate with hype. They give people ownership that makes them matter. If you want the whole thesis in one line, it's that humans crave earned importance, to feel seen, useful, and real to other people. And here's the hopeful part. This is one of the few life skills that scales. If you become someone who makes others feel important in a truthful way, you become magnetic. Not because you're charming, but because you're rare. In an age of AI, content, noise, the ultimate flex is being genuinely human. So the fastest way to feel important is actually just to make someone else feel important first. Thanks for watching today. My 3 key takeaways are recognition beats validation. Next, specific praise is better than generic praise. And last, importance comes from usefulness. So what do you think? Do you crave this more than anything? How do you perceive your own importance in your daily life? And are you getting what you crave? Comment below and let us know. If you like what you saw today, please like and subscribe as it will keep content like this coming your way. And stay tuned for more content ranging from consciousness to physics, philosophy to psychology, as well as all the intersections in between that affect your thinking and being. Until then, keep thinking and being, and do not go gentle into that good night.